Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. My name is Peter Tabuns. I'm the Ontario NDP Shadow Minister for Environment, Conservation and Parks. And I'm joined this morning with my co-sponsors of the bill Protecting Ontario from Urban Wildfires Act 2025. My co-sponsors, MPPs Jessica Bell, Alexa Gilmore, and Kristen Wong-Tam. Wildfires in our cities are the next stage of the climate crisis. It's time for Premier Ford to take the threat seriously. Les feux non maîtrisés dans nos villes constituent la prochaine étape de la crise climatique. Il est temps que le Premier ministre Ford prenne cette menace au sérieux. Our bill would start the process of risk assessment, prevention, response, and recovery. The Ford government currently has no such measures in place, despite the uptick in devastating fires spreading to urban areas. Ontario is not ready for this. We have seen the horrific effects of urban wildfires with alarming frequency in recent years. Cities like Los Angeles, New York, and even London, England, have faced fires spreading to urban settings. Closer to home, it happened in Halifax and St. John, Newfoundland, this past summer. People in some of these cities paid for their lack of preparedness with their homes and even their lives. We cannot make the same mistakes in Ontario. The climate crisis isn't going away in the near future. The Ford government must prepare now before it's too late. The urgency of the matter is compounded by the Ford government's inaction on the climate crisis. Our first job is to cut carbon pollution to stabilize things. The next job is preventing these fires, and where we can't, making sure we have the resources to fight them. If the Ford government refuses to cut emissions, the least they can do is protect Ontarians from the consequences. We can't wait until people are fleeing their homes in the middle of the night. Before my colleagues speak, I want to thank award-winning author John Valiant for his endorsement of this bill. His book about urban wildfire in Fort McMurray, Alberta, Fire Weather, The Making of a Beast, makes clear the new realities we have to deal with. My colleagues will speak. We'll have a clip from Mr. Valiant, and then we're happy to answer any questions. And we'll start off with MPP Bell.
Thank you very much, MPP Peter Tabuns, for developing this bill. I'm very pleased to be standing here with you, as well as MPP Kristen Wong-Tam and MPP Alexa Gilmore as co-sponsors. I was shocked, I think we were all shocked, by the wildfire that devastated Los Angeles in January of this year. It was a month-long wildfire. 16,000 buildings and homes were destroyed. 37,000 hectares were burnt, entire neighborhoods were razed, and 31 people were killed. Los Angeles is now conducting an investigation into the county's handling of that fire. And what they have found is that while there were countless heroic acts of sacrifice and bravery from firefighters and citizens, it was also very clear that Los Angeles and California were not prepared for the extreme wildfire they were confronted with. I believe that what happened in Los Angeles is a warning for Toronto and every city and town in Ontario, because we're not ready either. We all know that rising temperatures and drier climates are the ignition for the kind of wildfires that we're seeing right now. The fire season is longer, the fires are more intense, they're hotter, and they move more quickly, and they are more likely to be out of control. Why I decided to co-sponsor this bill is because this issue is quite personal to me. I grew up in Australia, and Australia is an industrialized country that has been forced to reckon with the consequences of climate change and extreme weather earlier than other industrialized countries. Every Australian child remembers Black Friday, when devastating fires ripped through southeastern Australia and killed many people. And I still remember as a child looking up and seeing the sky, the orange sky, where you couldn't see the sun. And every Torontonian now knows what that's like, because that's what our summer was like in 2025, because of the fires that burned through Manitoba and Ontario for months. And our city was gripped with some of the worst air quality in the world, day after day after day. I believe, like my colleagues, that we have a responsibility as lawmakers to look ahead, prepare for emergencies, protect our economy and our way of life, and keep us safe. And when it comes to the climate crisis, that means we must drastically reduce our climate pollution and also adapt to the new extreme weather reality that we have. The Conservatives, it's safe to say, are not taking either of these steps. The Auditor General, in a report they recently released, showed that the government has essentially abandoned its plan to address the climate crisis. And in the fall economic statement that we are debating right now in the legislature, the Conservatives have enshrined that abandonment into law. The government is no longer required to have any greenhouse gas emission reduction plan at all. There are no targets after 2030 to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Why I am pleased why I think it is important to be standing here to support the Protecting Ontario from Urban Wildfires Act is that regardless of what this government does, we need to prepare for what is to come. This bill starts the work that Ontario must do whether we like it or not. Come up with a plan, assess wildfire risk in cities, strengthen prevention and improve our ability to respond when disaster strikes, and support towns and cities as they recover, because it is inevitable. This is about responsible climate adaptation. Bills like this are how we protect people and prepare for an uncertain future, and I hope the government is taking these issues seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Good morning. My name is Alexa Gilmore. I am the Parkdale High Park MPP. I'm very pleased to be standing with my fellow MPPs and co-sponsoring this bill that looks at urban wildfire risk assessment, response, recovery, and most importantly, prevention. My home, my beloved piece of the earth is High Park and the Humber River, the deer that come along the river, the coyotes that live in the park, and over 100,000 residents who really delight and thrive with the oak savanna that is endangered. And if that were to disappear, it would be devastating. But my residents know, when I was speaking to them about this bill, about what that could look like, because they survived in the 1950s, Hurricane Hazel, when the floodwaters came up, and we did not have the risk assessment, the recovery, the response, the prevention. Homes were lost. Lives were lost. It was devastating, and it allowed us to respond after. We no longer build on that floodplain. We have the Toronto Conservation Agency. We have so many things after. But wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be so much better to put those plans in place now? So I'm proud to stand with my NDP colleagues and offer a plan to the government and to Ontario, and I hope the Premier will take this very seriously. Because wildfires are not an if. They are a when. And we have a plan. And we can do something about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Alexa. Good morning. My name is Kristen Wong-Tam, and I'm the Member of Provincial Parliament for Toronto Centre. Over the years, Ontario summers have gotten hotter and drier. We've seen wildfires break out in places that have moved closer and closer to cities and other densely populated areas. We are warned not to open our windows or to stay indoors, and those intense heat waves are simply just getting longer. The elderly, people with immunocompromised conditions, and children are cautioned to stay away, stay indoors, don't go out. I have asthma. I take these warnings to heart. In a city like Toronto, the threat of urban wildfires is even more pronounced due to the way our city is built up. Dense housing built along the ravines means that a single ignition, an ember carried by the wind or a downed power line, or a spark from human activity can escalate with alarming speed. Unlike remote wildfires, an urban wildfire here in our big city can spread within minutes, up hills toward those homes, apartment blocks, schools, and touching critical infrastructure. And because many of these ravines connect directly to major dense neighborhoods, the fires never stay contained. And it will move rapidly through a city like a fire pathway. The combination of high population density, aging electrical infrastructure, and heavily forested corridors puts Toronto at an elevated level of risk that other large cities may not face. If we fail to prepare, a wildfire in our ravine system will not just threaten property, it will overwhelm evacuation routes, choke the air with smoke, and endanger thousands of residents who live along these tree-lined areas. It will literally affect millions more in the city. And that's why urban wildfire preparedness is not optional for a city like ours. We have an urgent responsibility, and that's why I'm so proud to be a co-sponsor of this bill, NDP legislation tabled by MPP Peter Tabuns, Alexa Gilmore, Jessica Bell, myself. We are here to protect Ontarians, their homes, their businesses, their livelihoods from what is inevitable. It's not a matter of whether or not the wildfires will take place in Toronto and other municipalities. It's a matter of when. And the question to be answered is, will we be ready? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kristen. Could we have the John Valiant clip, please?
Hi, my name is John Valiant, and I'm the author of Fire Weather, The Making of a Beast. I'm here to advocate for the Protecting Ontario from Urban Wildfires Act. Some of you may know I'm not an Ontarian, but I am a Canadian, and I've seen up close and personal the damage and heartbreak that 21st century urban fires can inflict on our communities and on our fellow citizens, from BC to Newfoundland and all across the North. This proposed act bravely and intelligently addresses the intensifying fire risks that fossil fuel-driven climate change poses to our forests and to our own families. Canada experienced the worst fire season in its history in 2023. 2025 has been the second worst. The writing's on the wall and the smoke is in the air. We need a comprehensive, nonpartisan approach to this internal national security risk, and the Protecting Ontario from Urban Wildfires Act provides us with an actionable template. I hope you'll consider it seriously. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Chloe Logan from Canada's National Observer. So I hear you're talking about risk assessment and the need to understand the risk of urban wildfire. And I also know there's a lack of mapping at a national level that identifies where wildland-urban interface is and the risk associated with it when it comes to like specific fuel types. And experts say that's the first step in kind of guiding what you're talking about. So how much do we know about where this risk is specifically in the region, and are you pushing for mapping at a regional level to kind of guide these steps that you're talking about?
Our expectation is that with passage of this legislation, the government would set up an advisory group and start that whole process of assessing the risk across Ontario. The World Bank already does an assessment, and they have a risk analysis website where you can look at the risk for different cities. Toronto is rated as a fairly high risk city for urban wildfire, according to the World Bank. But they say each area has to do its own detailed risk assessment. That's the first step in what we're proposing. You're welcome. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I just want to add to that very good question. The City of Toronto has done some flood modeling. And so by way of knowing the topography and the geography of where the floods would take place, they have already a baseline understanding from a mapping perspective of what the geography looks like and how to prevent stormwater runoff and to withstand that sort of 75-year, 80-year flood. They would apply the same technology. A lot of cities are doing it for wastewater, stormwater management, and I think that's how they would prepare now for urban wildfires. Yeah.
You mentioned the risk assessment piece as one of the early steps in legislation. Can you take me through kind of what organization, let's say, like what entity do you see would be in kind of charge of protecting a city like Toronto from wildfire risks if the legislation passes?
Well, there's not been a lot of work done to prepare for urban wildfires, so I would say that is yet to be determined. If you look at the potential risk factors, you would probably have your Parks Department as part of that process. We have extensive ravine system, as MPP Wong Tam referred to. The recent fires this past summer in Kawartha Lakes, Haliburton area, showed that you could get fires in hardwood areas where there was a lot of deadfall, and we got that from the ice storm. Parks Department is responsible for managing those forests, and so I would say in a response, you would have an aggregate of the fire department, the planning department, the Parks Department, looking at potential risk areas and looking at what do we do to manage for prevention. So that's a question that's going to be determined in the future, but my speculation is those would be the key departments that would be working on this.
Just on that point, do you see conservation authorities playing a role in urban wildfire prevention?
I imagine that they would, in fact, but when I think of the cities, I think of the primary departments being the three that I cited. There was another comment?
I'm happy to
Go
answer
ahead.
that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the City of Toronto has an Office of Emergency Management. They report directly. Major department heads all come together and work through the city manager's office. They invoke that sort of office when crises take place, so such as the COVID-19 pandemic during the ice storm. I think that table will be meeting much more regularly if the province compelled them and said every region has to develop their own plan to address urban wildfires, to assess and to prevent. And they certainly do have the resources. In my personal conversations with Jim Jessup, who's the chief of Toronto Fire Services, when I asked him whether or not urban wildfires was top of mind and a concern for him and his department and the associations across Ontario, he said absolutely. So knowing that this legislation is coming forward, he's going to be ready to meet and rise to whatever requirements are asked of him and his department from the city on behalf of the province.
Any other questions? Do we have any remote questions?
No calls.
Okay. Thank you all. Really appreciate your time. Take care.
Thank you, Peter.
Really
Great job.
appreciate it. Really appreciate it.